Thank you so much for having us, and good morning. We're here to talk about how we are collaborating Volvo Group, Logivity, and Renault Trucks around finding ways to use primary data to improve the way we decarbonize transportation for sufficient and efficient transports. So what we will talk about today is, in principle, some general topics around the challenges with emission reporting. We started to hear about it yesterday. We've heard a little bit more today. We will take it maybe one step further, really looking into how we are using primary data as a source of collecting the data, optimizing the flows to really bring decarbonization to the next level. Doing that through the exploration and the implementation in the Volvo Group transport supply chain. So that's the three topics we will cover for today. But before we do that, maybe a quick on who we are. So my name is Alexander. I work for Logivity, who is then supporting, amongst others, the Volvo Group with digital connectivity between shippers and carriers. With me, I have...
Hello everyone, so I am Emmanuel Estragnat, working for Renault Trucks, and I am in charge of customer productivity services.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Hello everyone, Denis Giron. I am Logistics Sustainability Manager, working within Volvo Group Truck Operations. I am dealing with collecting data, calculation of CO2 emissions within the transportation system that we are having in our supply chain.
Good. And maybe setting the scene a little bit. Denis, who is the Volvo Group?
Okay, a few words about the Volvo Group. You may know that we are engaged in several and various activities, mainly or primarily based on manufacturing and developing vehicles as trucks, of course, as you know, but also construction equipment, buses, and engines, and all the related services connected with that. I bring here a few keywords or key figures on the Volvo Group. 100,000+ employees. We have production facilities in around 17 different countries, selling our products in almost 200 markets. 53 billion euro was our net sales last year, and we have a big worldwide dealers and service network. In a short, just to introduce our group. Connected with sustainability, I bring here what could be the most powerful message that Volvo Group is aiming to build. Together, we shape the world we want to live in. The Volvo Group aims to lead the way for sustainable transport solutions, committing with electrifications, road electrifications in our case, and enhancing the efficiency of the products that we're putting on the market and the services connected with. This is probably the best target image and visions that we have when we are speaking about sustainability and what does that mean for us in the Volvo Group. We are also emphasizing that this is requiring collaborations, including, of course, our customers, our suppliers, and the communities around the ecosystems that we need to build to reach and to cope with this wanted position. Next one, please.
Emmanuel, Renault.
Hello guys, so I'm going to talk to you about Renault Trucks, who we are. So Renault Trucks is a company with part of the Volvo Group, so we are a French truck manufacturer. So we are making like around 60,000 trucks in 2024, mainly medium heavy-duty trucks and also Renault Truck specificities, light commercial vehicles. Our main footprint, let's say, is Europe, with a strong market penetration in France. And also, for you to know, we have more than 2,000 electric vehicles running in, let's say, in Europe, and that have, I would say, done more than 42 million kilometers. And let's say the size of, I would say, of the company is like around 8,000 people working for Renault Trucks, with more than 1.5 thousand, I would say, dealership across Europe and in the world. So if then we go into our strategy, so for Renault Trucks, we have a strong objectives around decarbonizations to help our customer in reducing their CO2 emissions across, let's say, 3 pillars. So the first one is around fuel efficiency, how we can reduce the improve the fuel efficiency of our trucks by reducing their fuel consumption, by improving trucks' aerodynamics and driveline performance. Also working on the circularity, especially on the spare parts. So how to, instead of throwing a spare parts, try to regenerate it, repurpose it, so that you can reuse it and give it a second life. And of course, the third pillar is how we support our customer in switching to electromobility, thanks to, I would say, a wide range of vehicle, going from, I would say, heavy-duty trucks that you can see here, down to light commercial vehicles like vans, and also even cargo bikes with some partnership with Cluster. So really, that's a key pillar of, I would say, of Renault Truck strategy, this switch to electromobility. Next.
Good. So, as you heard from Denis, Volvo Group has a sort of strong vision towards driving a truly sustainable tomorrow, a world that they shape together with the inhabitants in it. And part of the challenge to get there is, of course, to create a completely sort of fact-based understanding of where is the current supply chain, because that's part of the products coming in. And part of that then is about automating, finding ways to get the sustainability data in from transportation and doing that as sufficient and efficient as we possibly can. So Denis, what are you looking at when it comes to transportation?
Yeah, connected with what you're just saying, what we would like to, and what we are working and that we have started to work with is to create and to be in this world-class sustainable transportation system. What does that mean? It means that we think that our own transportation system, I mean inbound transport, outbound, everything that we are moving goods to build trucks and to deliver trucks should be world-class. And here, on top of removing CO2 emissions, because we are here speaking about removing CO2 emissions from this system, we believe that in the same times we can increase the productivity of our logistics system, and being in this combo, this magic combo of removing cost as we are removing CO2 emissions. That's the aim and the intention of this target image connected with. How we will, to be a bit concrete and tangible, here those are the challenge that we have in front of us. Not so far from now when we are looking at the first one. By 2025, we should have removed 30% of our CO2 emissions from transport using a 2018 baseline. We are approaching the deadline, and we have made quite huge progress, but this is still a challenge to reach the 30%. We have done a second milestone, which is at 2030, in which we will add on 20% more of this already 30% removed. And then from that, we have a decade to start working or to continue working on this net zero approach by 2040, which is another story, to be honest, comparing the two first milestones. But this is already a challenge, knowing the supply chain that we are running and all the transport that we are operating every day in different regions, different countries, to build quite a lot of machines, trucks and buses every day. How we are working with such targets? We have defined 3 main focused areas, or 3 pillars. The first one on the left, reduce transport demand. Here we are aiming to reduce the number of transport that our supply chain needs to do the same or even more trucks per day, as an example. Optimized transportation is the second one. Here we are working in our organizations, we are designing a network, which means that we have a way to influence the routes, the distance, the optimizations of all the different stops, the filling degree and the efficiency to be sure that our network is efficient enough and that we are putting a transport on road or on sea. We are doing that with the most efficient way. The third one, improve fleet energy efficiency. This one is really connected with getting rid of diesel and trying to use alternative fuel type in all the fleets that with our carriers we are running. So it's really consisting of introducing HVO, biofuels, electric trucks, of course, as a first choice, because this is our main ambitions, as I stated in my previous message, and this to remove greenhouse gas emissions from our transportation system. In a short, the 3 pillars.
Good. And then you made this statement maybe a year ago or something like that, Denis.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate?
Yeah. I don't know how you're familiar with calculating CO2 emissions within Scope 3 for transport. I have deep dive a bit, and to be honest, we are facing quite a lot of different challenges. To not go in too much detail, first one is data availability. If we are serious when we are speaking about calculating CO2 emissions, you know, there's quite a lot of parameters that we need to take care of, and being able to capture all those parameters is already a challenge in terms of data availability. Then we have the viability of those parameters. I don't know. I mean, there's different way of making calculations. We can use the default value, model, and data value, and then primary data. For now, we're using default value, and then we are entering in the quite a lot of variability in the emission factors, knowing that we could have differences between the regions, and within the regions, differences between the countries. If we were speaking about well-to-wheel, then we need to take care about the well-to-tank, which could be different from I mean, the way that we are producing and distributing fuel could be different from one country to another. Mm. Then we have the complexity of our supply chain. I mean, we are using road, ro-ro, sea freight, container, SCL, FTL, air freight, train, quite a lot of different transportation mode, which is giving sometimes a pure nightmare to make such calculation. And the last one is the dynamic nature of the emissions. I mean, our supply chain is living, we are switching suppliers, we are shifting processes, we are adjusting our industrial footprint, and it's then becoming quite difficult to maintain such database. And this is a bit what I wanted to share today, is that I am not, my added value is not to be world-class in making calculations. Our added value and that we have in my organization is to be world-class in finding solutions and implementing solutions to decarbonize our transportation system. So for now, I'm spending too much time on making calculation and not enough on what is really mattering, which is decarbonizing.
Hmm. And pretty sure that hopefully some of you, or maybe not hopefully, maybe some of you have solved the equation already, which is fantastic, but I guess quite a lot is still in that same sort of journey that Denis and the team is on, spending time finding the data, collecting the data, harmonizing the data, putting it into some kind of sensible format, getting sort of insights out of it so that you can act, and maybe spending the majority of the time there. We believe that of course, growth needs to continue, but it needs to happen sustainable. And we see that transportation, of course, is a key contributor to the emissions of the world. Rough figures, around 25% of all emissions is coming out of some kind of transportation. Looking ahead, we see that there is a lot of investments going into decarbonizing your factories, warehouses, putting solar panels, windmills, all of these kind of things to sort of decarbonize that part which you can control. That of course means that emissions from transportation, if we don't do anything about it, will continue to grow. Adding on top of that, volumes. So forecasted to double. So transportation will continue to increase, regardless of sort of if we want to keep it down, like Denis said, to minimize the amounts of moves, goods will continue to increase and the movements of goods will continue to increase. Then as well, on top of that, capacity utilization. So in the industry today, there is about 50% capacity utilization. So listening to SSAB from yesterday, I guess if you had a capacity utilization of your plants of 50%, it would not be financially sound, as one example. And I'm pretty sure that many of you that run sort of manufacturing businesses realizes that, okay, something needs to happen. Now, being a logistics person, it's super good to see, or it's good, not good to see the numbers, but it's still sort of positive in a way, because we know that we can impact it through our sort of standard ways of working. If we go in and optimize the logistics flow, it's gonna be good from a cost perspective, it's gonna be good from an emission perspective. And of course, that is what we would like to do, but a bit like Denis was into, this requires reliable information and reliable data. Today, there is a lot of still manual collections, maybe on a quarterly basis, maybe on a yearly basis from your carrier base, trying to get all of this in so that you can do the sort of required reporting. It's often estimation based, which is not necessarily an evil thing if you're not doing anything today. Then it's better to start to work than to wait for the perfect solution. However, given the low reporting frequency, it's impossible to act. So how do you actually incorporate it into your day-to-day business? Does it become a sustainability department that is running on the side trying to get the business to act? Or is it integrated into safety, into quality, into delivery, into cost? Then of course, the time. If there are different sort of sources, different formats, different methods, trying to get this all together into one sort of coherent puzzle is super time consuming. And then as well, the transparency degree. How do you actually know which data you are using? So what we have been looking at together is to, of course, move away from this and start to use primary data more and more. And when we mean primary data, we mean the data coming from the assets that are actually doing the transportation. And we started in trucking in Europe. And the good thing there is the industry is kind of well prepared. If we look at the trucks that are out there running, about 15 million trucks are today connected, and commercial vehicles, we should say, because it's not only heavy duty, it's everything from a big truck into a light commercial. So this is regardless if Denis and Emmanuel is standing here. This is coming from all the sort of brands and makers. The data is there in the trucks, ready to be used. That's part of the solution. And Emmanuel, how is Renault doing that?
So how is Renault Trucks doing on this? So for us, at Renault Trucks, we have made some choices to say that connectivity is really a need so that we can support the supply chain. And today, when you look at our truck population, we have more than 280,000 trucks which are pre-equipped with the telematic gateways, meaning that they can send data. They are ready to send data. And then based on that, we have some of our customers who bought fleet management system and API services, approximately 20% of those trucks that are equipped with this service, meaning that you can fetch the data from the trucks. You can get it, and we can get those real-time data so that it flows into the supply chain ecosystem. And knowing that we have today more than 300 data points that can be used. It could be mileage, it could be GPS position, it could be driver behaviors, etc. That can be used to improve let's say, the logistic efficiency. So that's why we decided to connect with Denis and Logivity to see how can we leverage on all those data to help the supply chain, the carrier, and the transporters more efficient. Then if we go to the challenge, to the next one. When you are a carrier or a transport company, usually you have small, let's say small carriers that usually are not very used to that kind of API technologies, how to connect, how to activate it. And the point we have today is how we, Renault Trucks, can we help to ease the transport company onboarding so that they can share the vehicle data up to the transport management system and across all those, I would say, intermediate layers, data integrators, carriers, shippers, etc. So how to make it easy for them to share their data and make sure that Denis, instead of spending time on collecting data, he can spend time on finding solutions to decarbonize. So that's where now comes Logivity in the ecosystem.
And before we go there, is it hard for the carriers to get access to this technically?
Technically. If you look from an IT guys, I would say no. But if you look from a transport guys who is in his daily activity has to manage transport, manage drivers, manage issues, breakdowns, make sure the deliveries are done on time, doing a token into my portal, it's just create an account. It's complex. So because they don't have time, they don't have the knowledge, and it's not part of their key objective. So it could be simple, but still it's not the case because we don't have so many, I would say, other trucks that are connected to the supply chain ecosystem.
Good. And of course that is part of what we're trying to solve together. So before we go into the exact solution, so Logivity is also then one piece of this puzzle, basically for Volvo Group, because we act as their communication sort of portal for everything when it comes to external logistics. So all of the sort of transport bookings going through there, everything when it comes to connectivity to the carriers, which enables Volvo Group to really get this into one pipeline, meaning there is no need to force carriers to use multiple solutions. We can just streamline it into one. And I think that is part of this beauty that Emmanuel is into as well. So once we get that pipeline in place, then it's just about for us to add services in a simple manner. Services that are now validated and rolled out across Europe and also expanding beyond the European setup. So, what are we doing? We're automating the collection and supply of emission data, meaning we tap into the telematics of the trucks running the transportation, thus increasing accuracy, because we're moving away from estimates, we're moving away from model data, we're going into primary data. We're increasing the frequency, so it's actually possible to plan and follow up on a transactional level, which means you can slice and dice the data you want. You can easily respond back to, for example, a inbound shipment on what was the actual emissions, but you can also roll it up then into more continuous improvement activities, into more reporting activities for the annual report. It creates the transparency, because together Denis and his team can work with the carrier base to really identify what are the hotspots and how can we together take away carbon, because we're still, by measuring, only understanding the baseline. We're actually not removing anything until we act on it. Same goes with the granularity level. So as we said before, it's great to start maybe with modeled data or default data and start to act. But of course here, by going into the propulsion system of a truck as an example, we get more granularity. Eventually we're also actually going to be able to sense the fuel that is in the truck. So then we can actually validate that what we have agreed is actually what is being used. And the key thing being here, so again, that Denis and the team can spend less time chasing data, the effort. So this can happen completely automatic, enabling then for a pipeline of data to visualize per route, per shipment, or even the content of the shipment. And we haven't maybe mentioned that yet, but of course, Volvo Group, long-time customer using OTM, so knows quite well the in and outs of it, and decided to go this route to further extend and enhance maybe the way we work with OTM. So how it works today is that, as we have heard from many before, a transport order, a shipment is created in OTM for Volvo Group. It's sent out to the carriers through Logivity, where basically we have, as examples, we have the transport modes, we have the cargo weight, plan distance, the equipment type, the fuel type, everything that we have contracted, enabling a planned emission. And this can be default values, or it could be more sort of modeled values, depending on how much of depth in the data is there surrounding the transport that you have actually set up in your network. The carrier receives it, plans it, and in that planning assigns which unique vehicle is actually doing the transportation, but can also then confirm the sort of equipment capacity and the fuel that that specific truck is having, thus taking it one more level down on the granularity level. Still, it's a plan, so it's an updated emission on the planned emissions. Then we all know execution starts to happen. We do a proof of pickup, it's collected. Sometimes things goes great and it goes the planned route. Okay, then according to the plan versus the actual, it's more or less the same, similar kilometers driven. Sometimes a deviation happened, there's a traffic accident, it needs to bypass another route, so more fuel is actually consumed to get the shipment to where it's supposed to go. But nonetheless, after the transportation has happened, a normal proof of arrival, proof of delivery, the transport execution stops, and we then actually can get into what was the real emissions for that shipment on a specific truck being transported from A to B, as an example. What is also good when we do it this asset-driven is, of course, that we can get into a more granular analysis of the transport emissions. So all of a sudden we get our hot zones, we know where we have the biggest volume lanes, we know where we have the biggest emissions, we can see sort of how is our supply chain built up from a data perspective, how much is primary, how much is modeled, how much is default values. As well, we get a good understanding of what has been the fuel. But really the key thing to help Denis even further is this allows us to, based on the data, of course, then identify what could be ways to remove it. So running in an algorithm of an electric truck as an example, knowing the constraints of the electric truck and then making proposals on, okay, on this specific lane, based on the transport pattern that you have, you should have a dialogue with your carrier on doing a swap. Or for that matter, moving over to another mode, if we know that there is a, for example, railroad nearby. With Logivity, we have a two-phased approach. So of course, this can be given to the transport buyer to support Denis, but it also goes out to the carrier side, which means they can start to work more proactively. So what we have then done, speaking about this collaboration approach, is that it is still together with Oracle and OTM, of course, building that base in the shipment data. Renault is in this case acting as an example of a truck manufacturer, but as we said before, this could be a Mercedes truck or whatever being there. Really capturing primary data through the telematics. And what we are then doing is we, from Logivity, connecting the transport data with the telematics data to simplify that follow-up. Concept-wise, it's pretty straightforward. We get the transport data in. We factor in carrier-specific information. If it's an LTL, the allocation, the empty mile factors. Then we get the fuel consumption from the truck, which we can then set on a shipment level. We add the fuel, so we actually go not just diesel, it could be HVO, which could be LNG, whatever, all with different emission factors, and we get an emission per shipment. That's great, but if we do it on everything, it's even greater, because then we increase sort of the granularity and the summary of things, which gets us then into the improvement phase. So how it works. As we said before, Logivity takes all of the bookings and the communication out towards carriers from OTM for Volvo Group. But before that as well, we need to have the fleet data. So you all know your carrier base. We work together with the Volvo Group carrier base, and we basically then onboard all of their assets that we need to have, regardless of telematics solution. In this case, we have with OptiFleet a connectivity, So therefore, it's rather easy to onboard them. And we put them into a vault. And that vault, only the carrier controls, keeping that integrity and trust that their data is not being misused for anything else. And then we have the baseline of the fleet. Then comes the transport order, as I said before, sent out through Logivity, over to the carrier plans it. He assigns the plan, either integrated or for that matter, because we're coming back to the maturity level of carriers, some are still with paper pen, but then enabling it through a UI so that they can be on a sort of a digital layer, assigning the assets. It gives an updated plan emission. We said before, execution starts to happen, goes through Logivity, and then as it's concluded, we can actually then come to what was the actual emissions. All of this to aid in capturing, validating, and optimizing emissions in transportation. Supporting really that Volvo Group in that specific case can become the OEM that supports in making the world a better place to live in. Where are we on time? We're good. We even have time for questions. Fantastic. So, what we would like you guys to bring with you from what we have talked about is, of course, that we think that the change is all about standing more and more people together, collaborating, driving it together. That is key. If we do not do that, it's going to be a longer road. Primary data, use it where it is available. Then again, don't wait for it. Start to gradually introduce it, and it is there now. Through that, automate, and I guess we will hear more about it when it comes to the AI session next, but really find ways to eliminate the time for the collection. In this case, there is no manual sort of involvement, which means Denis doesn't even have to do any number crunching or anything like that to wait for emails. Use the standards that are already there. So in the case of this, I mean, OTM, we all know it. There is a standard plug into Logivity on this specific case. There is a standardization on the market when it comes to the OEMs, which means this is not, again, just Renault Trucks doing it. It's everybody having the data available. And reach out to us or reach out to your Oracle representatives to see how this could be used together. With that, do we have anything to add, gentlemen, or do we pause for questions?